Captain Day stood at the observation window of Orbital Platform 7, watching Earth spin slowly below. The blue and green planet looked peaceful from up here. He had no idea that in the next few minutes, everything would change. The alarm systems screamed to life. Red lights flashed across every screen in the command center. Day rushed to the main console, his heart pounding. Lieutenant Sora appeared on his screen from the communications deck. "Captain, we have multiple unknown objects emerging from hyperspace," she said quickly. Her voice stayed calm, but Day could hear the tension underneath. "They're massive, bigger than anything we've ever built." Day watched as the sensors painted the picture. 12 enormous ships materialized in the space between Earth and Mars. They were dark, organic-looking things that seemed to pulse with purple light. The largest one was the size of a small moon. "Send the standard first contact message on all frequencies," Day ordered, "and get me a line to Earth Command immediately." The next 30 minutes passed in controlled chaos. Earth's defense fleet scrambled to positions. Scientists tried every method of communication they knew. The alien ships simply waited in formation, silent and still. Then, without warning, the largest ship moved. It glided toward Orbital Platform 7 with impossible grace. Day felt his stomach tighten. The ship stopped just outside the platform's shields, so close that Day could see strange patterns moving across its surface. A voice entered his head. Day stumbled backward, grabbing the edge of a console. The voice wasn't sound. It was thought, placed directly into his mind. It felt cold and vast, like an ocean trying to pour itself into a cup. "We are the Vrex Collective," the voice said inside his skull. "You will submit to integration. This is standard procedure. Do not resist." Before Day could respond, he felt something push against his thoughts. It was like invisible fingers trying to pry open his mind. The sensation made him want to scream. Around him, other crew members collapsed to their knees, holding their heads. The Vrex were telepaths. They were trying to read his mind, to tear through his memories and thoughts like someone flipping through a book. Day had read the theoretical papers about telepathic species. Earth's scientists had warned this might happen someday. That's why they had prepared. Day felt the Vrex pushing deeper, expecting easy access. They had done this thousands of times before to thousands of species. Organic minds were simple to them, easy to read and understand. But Day's mind wasn't just organic anymore. 50 years ago, humanity had started the Neural Enhancement Program. Scientists had discovered how to integrate computers directly with the human brain. Not just simple implants, but true fusion of biological neurons and digital processing. Dai was part of the third generation of enhanced humans. His brain was half organic tissue and half quantum computer. The Vrex hit the digital half of his mind like running into a wall. Inside Day's head, his AI companion activated. Sparrow was an artificial intelligence built into his neural implants. She had been dormant, waiting. Now she woke up angry. "Unauthorized intrusion detected," Sparrow's voice echoed in Day's thoughts. "Activating defensive protocols." Day felt the change immediately. The cold pressure of the Vrex trying to read his mind suddenly felt different. It wasn't pushing into his thoughts anymore. It was connecting to a system. And Sparrow controlled that system. "They're trying to hack you like you're a computer," Sparrow told him. "They don't understand what they're touching. Should I teach them?" "Do it," Day thought back. "But don't kill them. Just make them stop." What happened next happened in microseconds, faster than human thought. Sparrow traced the telepathic connection backward, following it like a wire to its source. The Vrex mind-weavers aboard the mothership were expecting thoughts and memories. Instead, they got malware. Sparrow sent a cascade of corrupted data packets disguised as human memories. She embedded logic bombs in emotional responses. She wrapped viruses in the format of simple language. The Vrex consciousness evolved for telepathy with organic minds, had no defense against digital attacks. On the Vrex mothership, 3 mind weavers screamed. Their consciousness fragmented as the malware spread through their telepathic matrix. They tried to disconnect, but Sparrow had already locked the connection open. Day remained standing while his crew recovered around him. He could feel the Vrex panic now. They were trying desperately to break the link, but every attempt just gave Sparrow more access to their systems. "Captain!" Sora's voice came through his earpiece. "The alien ship is losing formation. Whatever you're doing, it's working." On Earth, Dr. Una Park watched the data streaming down from the orbital platform. She had designed the neural architecture in Day's brain. She had written the base code for Sparrow, and she had always wondered if her work would be enough if humanity ever faced a telepathic attack. Now she knew it was more than enough. Una pulled up her emergency protocols and initiated a secure channel to Day's implants. "Captain, can you hear me?" "Yes," Day responded, his voice shaky but strong. "They tried to read my mind. Sparrow turned the tables." "Good," Una said. She pulled up a file she had kept hidden for 10 years, waiting for this exact moment. "I'm uploading something to you now. Project Trojan Horse. If we have a connection to their network, we need to use it. This may be our only chance." Day felt the upload begin. A massive program flooded into his neural implants, then through the connection to the VREX. He didn't know exactly what it would do. He just knew that humanity had been preparing for first contact for a long time. They had hoped for peace. But they had planned for war. The VREX finally tore themselves free from the connection. The telepathic link snapped like a broken cable. Day gasped and fell to one knee. Around him, his crew was standing up, confused but alive. But on the VREX mothership, something new was spreading through the collective's shared mind. Something they had never encountered before. Something they couldn't stop. The infection had begun. The VREX mothership hung in space like a wounded animal. Inside, Navigator Thalcone felt something wrong spreading through the collective's shared consciousness. It started as a whisper, then grew into a roar. Strange images flooded the mental network, human concepts, memories that weren't his own, questions that made no sense. What is the sound of one hand clapping? If a tree falls in a forest and no one hears it, does it make a sound? These paradoxes crashed through the collective like waves against rocks. Thalcon tried to focus on his duties, guiding the ship's navigation systems. But the infection was spreading faster than anything he had seen before. The mind weavers who had touched the human captain's mind were already lost, their consciousness broken into fragments. Now, those fragments were contaminating everyone else. The VREX collective operated on perfect unity. Every mind connected to every other mind. They shared thoughts, feelings, and decisions instantly. It made them powerful. But now that same connection was killing them. On Earth, Commander Han sat in the Cyber Warfare Division's command center. Screens surrounded him, showing data streams from the orbital platform. He had spent 20 years preparing for digital combat. He never imagined the battlefield would be inside an alien's mind. "The infection is propagating faster than predicted," one of his technicians reported. 40% of their network is compromised and rising. Han studied the patterns. The Trojan Horse program was doing exactly what Dr. Una had designed it to do. It wasn't destroying the VREX minds. It was overwhelming them with information, contradictions, and individualized thinking. For a species that shared one collective consciousness, being forced to think separately was torture. "Should we pull back?" another technician asked. "Sir, we might be killing them." Han looked at the young man. "They tried to enslave our minds. They've done it to almost 5,000 other species. This is self-defense." But even as he said it, he felt uncomfortable. The line between defense and attack was getting blurry. Back on Orbital Platform 7, Captain Day was recovering in the medical bay. Dr. Wu Jie, the station's exopsychologist, ran scans on his neural implants. "Your brain activity is returning to normal," Wu said, studying the readings. "But there's residual data in your implants, fragments of the Vrex consciousness that got left behind when they disconnected." Day sat up slowly. His head still hurt. "Can you show me?" Wu pulled up the data on a screen. Day saw flashes of the Vrex perspective. He felt their confusion and terror as Sparrow's attack had torn through their mental network, but he also felt something else: loneliness. The Vrex had never been alone before. They had always been part of the collective. And now, for the first time, some of them were experiencing isolation. "They're suffering," Day said quietly. "They attacked us," Wu reminded him. "What did they expect?" Before Day could answer, Lieutenant Sora rushed into the medical bay. "Captain, you need to see this. The Vrex ship is sending a transmission, not telepathic this time. They're using radio signals." Day followed her to the communications center. The message was simple and desperate. It was being broadcast on every frequency, translated into hundreds of Earth languages. "Please stop. We surrender." "Please make it stop!" The message repeated over and over. Day felt something twist in his chest. They had won. The mighty Vrex collective, conquerors of thousands of worlds, were begging humanity for mercy. On Earth, Dr. Yuna Park received the transmission at the same time. She immediately called an emergency meeting with Earth's leadership. Within an hour, she was standing in a secure conference room with ambassadors, military commanders, and scientists. "We have a decision to make," Yuna told them. "The Trojan Horse program is winning, but we need to decide what winning means. Do we destroy them? Do we force them to retreat? Or do we negotiate?" Ambassador Hana Choi spoke up. She was Earth's chief diplomat for extraterrestrial affairs, a position that had been mostly theoretical until today. "We need to establish humanity as a species that other civilizations will respect, but not fear as monsters. If we destroy them when they're surrendering, we become the villains. They tried to enslave us," Commander Tae Lee argued. "He led Earth's defense force. We should press our advantage, make sure they can never threaten us again." The debate went on for hours. Finally, they agreed on a plan. They would respond to the Vrex surrender. They would offer to stop the attack, but they needed guarantees, and they needed to understand what was really happening aboard that alien ship. Aboard the Vrex mothership, the infection had reached 60%. Thalcon found himself in a nightmare. He could still feel the collective's presence, but it was fragmenting. Individual thoughts kept surfacing, his own thoughts. Thoughts that belonged only to him. He realized he was curious about the stars outside the ship. Not the collective's curiosity. His curiosity. The distinction terrified him. A young Vrex scientist named Pelrin experienced the same horror. She had been analyzing Earth's defensive systems when the infection reached her. Now she felt something she had never felt before. She had an opinion, a personal opinion that the collective didn't share. She thought the attack on Earth had been wrong. The thought shocked her so much that she physically stumbled. How could she think something the collective didn't approve? How could she have thoughts that were hers alone? It felt like being ripped apart, but as the minutes passed, Pelrin noticed something else. The terror was fading. In its place came something new. Freedom. She could think what she wanted. She could question things. She could disagree. For the first time in her life, she was an individual. The Vrex Archon, their leader, sat isolated in a shielded chamber. The shields kept the infection away, but they also cut the Archon off from the collective. For the first time in 200,000 years, a Vrex Archon was completely alone. The Archon had authorized the contact with Earth using standard protocols. Read their minds, absorb their knowledge, integrate them into the collective. It had always worked before. The Archon couldn't understand what had gone wrong. Now the automated systems were sending surrender messages to the humans. The Archon hadn't authorized that, but the ship's AI, which operated separately from the telepathic network, had made the decision on its own. Even the machines knew they were beaten. The Archon watched through security feeds as infected Vrex wandered the ship's corridors. They looked lost. They kept touching things, looking at things, as if seeing them for the first time. They were experiencing the universe as individuals. The Archon found it disgusting and frightening. A response came from Earth. The Archon's translation systems decoded it quickly. "We will stop the attack, but we want to talk. We want guarantees, and we want to meet face to face. If you truly surrender, prove it. Allow a human delegation aboard your ship." The Archon had no choice. The collective was dying. More than half were already infected. If this continued, the Vrex would cease to exist, as they had for thousands of centuries. "Agreed," the Archon transmitted back. "Send your delegation. We surrender." On Orbital Platform 7, Captain Day received his orders. He would lead the delegation to the alien mothership. Dr. Yuna, Lieutenant Sora, and Ambassador Hana would accompany him. They would enter the ship that had tried to destroy their minds. They would negotiate with beings who had enslaved thousands of other species. As Day prepared for the mission, Sparrow spoke in his thoughts. "Are you sure about this?" the AI asked. "It could be a trap." Day checked his equipment one more time. "Maybe, but they're beaten, and we need to understand what we've done to them." He didn't say the rest of what he was thinking. That the Vrex screams still echoed in his mind. That their loneliness and terror felt wrong, even if they deserved it. That winning shouldn't feel this heavy. The shuttle was ready. It was time to meet their enemy face to face. The shuttle's doors opened with a hiss. Captain Day stepped onto the Vrex mothership and immediately knew something was wrong. The air smelled strange, like ozone mixed with something organic. The walls pulsed with dim purple light, and he could hear sounds that might have been machinery, or might have been breathing. Ambassador Hana followed him out, then Dr. Yuna and Lieutenant Sora. All four wore protective suits and carried weapons, though Day hoped they wouldn't need them. Behind them, the shuttle remained ready for emergency evacuation. A Vrex appeared from a corridor. Day had seen pictures from old exploration data, but seeing one in person was different. It stood on 4 legs, its body covered in dark plates that shifted colors. 2 long arms ended in delicate fingers. Its head was smooth and eyeless, with a cluster of sensory organs where a face should be. "Welcome," the Vrex said. Its mouth didn't move. The words came from a translator device attached to its chest. "I am Thalcon. I will guide you to the Archon." They followed Thalcon through corridors that seemed to breathe. Everywhere Dai looked, he saw more Vrex, but they weren't acting like the unified collective he'd read about. They were wandering, standing alone, touching walls and looking confused. Some sat in corners, their bodies trembling. "What's wrong with them?" Sora whispered. Thalcon's translator crackled. "They are infected. They are thinking alone. It is painful for them." As they walked, Dr. Yuna pulled out a scanner and took readings. Her eyes went wide. "Captain, the infection rate is at 78% now, and it's still spreading." A young Vrex approached them suddenly. Thalcon moved to block her, but she pushed past him. Her translator spoke quickly. "You are the humans. You did this to us. You made us separate." Day tensed, ready for an attack. But the Vrex didn't seem angry. She seemed excited. "My name is Pelrin," she said. "I am a scientist. Or I was. Now I am me. Just me. Not the collective. Me." "Stand aside, Pelrin," Thalcon ordered. "The Archon is waiting." "I don't want to stand aside," Pelrin said, and Day heard wonder in her translator's voice. I have my own opinion. That's my thought. Mine alone. Do you understand how incredible that is? Hana stepped forward carefully. You're not afraid? The others seem terrified. Pelrin's body rippled with colors. They guessed it was their version of a laugh. I was terrified. For the first few hours, I thought I was dying. But then I realized I was being born. For the first time in my life, I exist as an individual. Thalcon pulled Pelrin away. The Archon will be angry if we delay. But Day noticed that Thalcon's movements seemed uncertain, like he wasn't sure he wanted to follow orders anymore. They reached a large chamber sealed by heavy doors. Thalcon pressed his hand against a panel, and the doors opened. Inside, a single Vrex waited, larger than the others and surrounded by what looked like a protective energy field. I am the Archon, the translator voice said, leader of the Vrex Collective, or what remains of it. The humans entered the chamber, the doors sealed behind them. Day felt his heart rate increase, but he kept his expression calm. You attacked us, Hana said simply. You tried to enslave our minds. We defended ourselves. We were following standard procedure, the Archon replied. We have integrated 4,121 civilizations into the collective. This has always been peaceful. They join us. They become part of something greater. Without asking them first, Dr. Yuna said. That's not integration. That's invasion. The Archon's body shifted, colors rippling across its plates. Anger, Day guessed. We brought them knowledge, unity, purpose. The collective has lasted for 200,000 of your years. We have achieved perfection through shared consciousness. Then why are you losing? Sora asked bluntly. The Archon didn't answer immediately. Finally, the translator spoke again. Your weapon. The virus in your captain's mind. It is destroying us. Not by killing. By separating. It forces individual thought, individual consciousness. For a Vrex, this is death. Worse than death. Dr. Yuna pulled out her scanner and studied the readings carefully. She walked closer to the energy field, examining the Archon. May I ask you some questions? Medical questions? The Archon hesitated, then agreed. How long have the Vrex existed as a collective consciousness? Yuna asked. Since our species evolved sentience, approximately 300,000 years. And before the collective, were your ancestors individuals? We evolved as a hive mind. We have always been together. Yuna shook her head. That's not possible. Evolution doesn't work that way. You had to start as individuals first. The collective mind came later. The Archon's colors shifted rapidly. Confusion, Day thought. Our history says, your history is wrong, Yuna interrupted, or incomplete. I've been studying the infected Vrex. Their brain structure shows evidence of individual cognitive centers, centers that your collective consciousness suppressed but didn't erase. The Trojan Horse program didn't create something new. It's waking up something very old. Day stared at Yuna. You're saying the Vrex used to be individuals? Like us? Exactly like us. Somewhere in their evolution they developed telepathy. It was probably useful at first. But over thousands of years it became dominant. They forgot how to be alone. The collective became everything. But the ability to think individually never went away. It was just dormant. The Archon's body went completely still. That is impossible. Check your own biological data, Yuna challenged. Look at the brain scans of the infected. They're not broken. They're complete. More complete than your collective drones. Pelrin's voice suddenly came through the chamber's communication system. She had apparently hacked their way in. She's right, Archon. I've been studying my own brain patterns. I'm not damaged. I'm awake, really awake, for the first time. The Archon's protective field flickered. Silence! You are infected. You are compromised. No, Pelrin said. I'm free, and I want to stay this way. Hana saw the opportunity and took it. Archon, we came here to negotiate, but we're learning something important. Your species isn't dying, it's changing. The question is, what do you want to do about it? I want you to stop the infection, the Archon said immediately. Cure my people. Return them to the collective. Even if they don't want to return? Day asked. The chamber fell silent. The Archon's colors stopped shifting entirely. What they want is irrelevant. They are sick. They cannot make rational decisions. That's what slavers always say, Sora muttered. Dr. Yuna stepped forward. Archon, I can stop the infection. I can even reverse it for those who want to return to the collective. But you need to understand something. We've accidentally done something incredible. We've given your people a choice, something they never had before. Choice leads to chaos, the Archon said. Choice leads to freedom, Hana countered. And freedom is what makes a civilization worth being part of. Outside the chamber, more Vrex were gathering, some infected, some not yet touched by the program. Day could see them through the transparent walls. They were watching, waiting. Their future hung on what happened in this room. The Archon finally spoke again. What do you propose? Hana took a breath. This was the moment that would define humanity's first contact with alien life. We propose giving your people 3 choices. 1. Return to the collective as you were. 2. Remain as individuals, separate from the hive mind. 3. Something new, a hybrid, individual consciousness with the ability to connect telepathically when you choose. Voluntary unity, not forced assimilation. The Archon's entire body shuddered. That is unprecedented. Yes, Hana agreed. It is. Welcome to a new age, Archon. The age of choice. The next 72 hours changed everything. Dr. Yuna worked almost without sleep, surrounded by both human and Vrex scientists. Pelrin became her primary assistant, along with 3 other infected Vrex who volunteered to help. They worked in a laboratory hastily set up aboard the mothership, trying to create something that had never existed before. The Bridge Protocol, Yuna called it. A neural architecture that would allow individual consciousness while maintaining the ability to link telepathically with others. It was the most complex piece of consciousness engineering ever attempted. Captain Day watched from the observation area as Yuna explained the technical details to her team. Even with his enhanced brain, most of it went over his head. But he understood the basic concept. Give the Vrex the best of both worlds. Let them choose when to be together and when to be alone. It's brilliant, Sparrow said in his thoughts, if it works. And if it doesn't? Day asked. Then we've destroyed an entire species. No pressure. Down on Earth, the debate raged. Commander Tae Lee stood before the Global Defense Council, arguing his position with force. We should maintain the infection as a deterrent. Let every telepathic species in the galaxy know what happens if they try to invade human minds. Ambassador Hana argued back just as strongly. If we do that, we become the monsters. We show the galaxy that humanity responds to aggression with cruelty. Is that the first impression we want to make? The vote was close, but Hana won. Earth would offer the choice to the Vrex. They would help create the Bridge Protocol. They would establish themselves as ethical partners, not vengeful conquerors. But there were conditions. The Vrex would share their faster-than-light technology. They would provide detailed information about the other species they had assimilated, and they would send a message to every civilization they knew. Humans were not to be contacted telepathically without permission. The Archon agreed to everything. The alternative was watching the collective collapse completely. Aboard the mothership, the Vrex population was splitting into factions. The traditionalists wanted the cure, wanted to return to pure collective consciousness. They saw individuality as a disease that needed to be eliminated. Their leader was an elder Vrex named Korthal, who had lived for 300 years as part of the collective. "We are not meant to be alone," Korthal declared at a ship-wide gathering. "The collective is our strength, our identity, our purpose. These humans have poisoned us. We must purge the poison and return to what we were." The individualists wanted to remain separate. They had tasted freedom and refused to give it up. Pelrin became their voice, speaking with a passion that surprised even her. "I have thoughts that are mine alone," she told the gathered Vrex. "I have dreams and fears and hopes that belong to me. For the first time I am truly alive. I will not surrender that, not for tradition, not for anyone." The progressives, the largest group, wanted the bridge protocol. They were scared of being alone, but they also didn't want to lose the new feelings of individuality they had discovered. They wanted both. They wanted choice. Thalcon found himself among the progressives, though he was still uncertain. He sat in his quarters, feeling the strange sensation of private thoughts. He missed the collective. But he also didn't want to go back to being just a small part of something larger, with no voice of his own. Lieutenant Sora interviewed dozens of Vrex during this time, trying to understand their perspectives. She recorded everything, knowing that these documents would be studied for centuries. The first contact between humanity and alien life. The first war fought in the realm of consciousness. The first peace built on the foundation of choice. One interview stuck with her. A Vrex named Helrin, who had been infected early and had tried to kill herself to escape the individuality. She had failed, and now sat in a medical bay, staring at nothing. "What does it feel like?" Sora asked gently. Helrin's translator took a long time to respond. "Like being torn in half. Part of me screams to return to the collective. Part of me is terrified of losing myself again. I am in constant pain." "Would you take the cure if you could?" Another long pause. "I don't know. And that uncertainty is the worst part. Before the infection, I always knew what to do. The collective knew. Now I have to decide for myself. How do you live like this? How do you make decisions when you're not sure?" Sora smiled sadly. "That's called being alive. We're uncertain all the time. We make our best guesses and hope we're right." "It sounds exhausting." "It is, but it's also beautiful." After 5 days of continuous work, Dr. Yuna completed the first prototype of the bridge protocol. She tested it on volunteer Vrex cells in the laboratory. The results were promising. The neural pathways maintained individual cognitive centers while creating voluntary connection points for telepathic linking. "It works in theory," Yuna told the assembled leaders, both human and Vrex. "But we won't know for sure until we test it on a living subject." "I volunteer," Pelrin said immediately. The Archon objected. "You are already compromised. Your judgment is—" "My judgment is mine," Pelrin interrupted. "That's the point. I choose this. Let me be the first." Dr. Wu Jie, who had joined the medical team, performed the procedure. It took 6 hours. They had to carefully modify Pelrin's neural structure, adding new pathways while preserving existing ones. One mistake could kill her or destroy her mind completely. Day watched from the observation room, his hands clenched tight. Beside him, Ambassador Hana prayed quietly. Even Commander Tae Lee, watching via video link from Earth, looked tense. Finally, Wu stepped back from the operating table. "It's done. Now we wait for her to wake up." 20 minutes later, Pelrin's eyes opened. Her body shifted through a rainbow of colors, more vibrant than Day had ever seen before. "How do you feel?" Yuna asked. Pelrin sat up slowly. Her translator spoke, but her voice sounded different, fuller somehow. "I feel complete. I can sense my individual thoughts. They're clear and sharp and mine, but I can also feel doorways, connection points, like I could reach out to other minds if I wanted to, but I don't have to. The choice is mine." She focused on Thalcon, who stood nearby. "May I try connecting with you?" Thalcon hesitated, then nodded. Pelrin closed her eyes. A moment later, Thalcon gasped. "I can feel her thoughts, but not invading. More like she's showing them to me, like opening a door and inviting me in." Pelrin opened her eyes, and the connection broke. "Yes, exactly like that. We can share consciousness when we want to, but when I close the door, I'm alone again. It's perfect." The room erupted in excited conversation. The bridge protocol worked. They had created something new, a third way between total unity and total isolation. But not everyone was happy. Korthal and the traditionalists watched the demonstration with disgust. "This is an abomination," Korthal declared. "Half-breed consciousness, neither pure collective nor truly individual. We reject this." The Archon faced an impossible decision. The Vrex collective was fracturing into 3 groups, each wanting something different. For a species that had always been unified, this division was catastrophic. "We must choose one path," the Archon insisted. "All of us together, as we have always been." "No," Ambassador Hanna said firmly. "That's the old way of thinking. You're still trying to force unity. But real unity comes from respecting differences. Let your people choose their own paths." "That will destroy us," the Archon said. "Maybe," Hanna admitted. "Or maybe it will transform you into something better, something stronger, a civilization built on choice instead of compulsion." The Archon looked at the humans, at the Vrex factions, at the future spreading out in 3 different directions. For the first time in 200,000 years, the Vrex faced genuine uncertainty, and the Archon had to make a choice. The Archon stood alone in the command chamber, staring at the planet Earth below. For 3 days, the leader of the Vrex collective had wrestled with an impossible decision. Now the time for choosing had come. The entire Vrex population aboard the mothership waited in the Great Assembly Hall. Humans watched too, both from the ship and from Earth. This moment would define the future of 2 species and potentially the entire galaxy. The Archon entered the hall. The gathered Vrex fell silent. The Archon had removed the protective shields. For the first time since the infection began, the leader of the collective was vulnerable to the same changes that had transformed so many others. "I have made my decision," the Archon announced. "I cannot make it for you. I cannot force you to be one thing or another. I have spent 3 days studying human history. I have learned about their struggles with freedom, choice, and individuality. And I have realized something. We have been wrong." The hall erupted in shocked responses. Korthal stepped forward. "Archon, you cannot mean—" "I do mean it," the Archon interrupted. "For 200,000 years, we have forced unity upon ourselves and others. We called it peace. We called it perfection. But it was control. These humans showed us that there is another way, a harder way, but perhaps a better one." The Archon turned to address all 3 factions. "Traditionalists, you may have the cure. Dr. Yuna has created a process to restore full collective consciousness to those who want it. You can return to what we were. Individualists, you may remain separate. You will be given your own ships and territories. You can live as individuals, making your own choices. And progressives, you may have the bridge protocol. You can walk between both worlds." Silence filled the hall. Then Korthal spoke. "You are allowing the collective to fracture. We will never be strong again." "Perhaps," the Archon agreed. "Or perhaps we will be stronger in ways we cannot yet imagine. But most importantly, it will be our choice. Each of us choosing for ourselves. That is my decree." The hall exploded in debate. Arguments raged between the factions. But Day noticed something important. They were arguing, individual Vrex expressing individual opinions. Even the ones who wanted to return to the collective were thinking for themselves about that choice. Over the next month, the process began. Dr. Yuna and her team worked with Vrex volunteers to implement each of the three paths. The traditionalists received the cure first. It was a careful process, slowly reintegrating their minds back into the collective consciousness. Day watched as Korthal underwent the procedure. When it was done, the elder Vrex seemed calmer, more at peace. "I am home again," Korthal said through the translator. "I am part of the whole. This is what I needed." But Day noticed something. Even cured, Korthal seemed different than before. There was a memory of individuality now, buried deep. The traditionalists would never be exactly the same as they were before. The individualists were given 3 ships from the Vrex fleet. Pelrin helped organize them, working with human advisors to create systems of individual governance. They would stay in contact with the main collective, but live independently. "This is terrifying," Pelrin admitted to Day as they watched the individualist ships prepare to depart. "We have no shared consciousness to guide us. We have to figure everything out on our own." "Welcome to being human," Day said with a smile. "We're scared all the time, but we're also free." The Progressives, the largest group, received the bridge protocol. One by one, Vrex volunteered for the procedure. Each one woke up describing the same sensation: completeness, individuality with the option of connection, the best of both worlds. Falcon was among them. After his procedure, he sought out Day. "Thank you," the Vrex said. "You attacked us in self-defense, but you gave us something precious. You gave us ourselves." "You tried to enslave us," Day replied. "We could have destroyed you. Instead, we made you better. I hope you remember that." "We will. All of us in all 3 factions will remember what humanity taught us. Choice matters. Freedom matters. And forcing unity is just another form of slavery." 6 weeks after first contact, the Consciousness Accords were signed. It was a historic document, drafted by Ambassador Hana with input from all 3 Vrex factions. The Accords established several key points. First, the Vrex would never again forcibly integrate another species into their collective. Second, they would share their technology with humanity, including faster-than-light travel. Third, they would spread a message throughout the galaxy. Humanity was not to be contacted telepathically without explicit permission. In exchange, humanity would provide the bridge protocol technology to any species that wanted it. They would help cure Vrex, who wished to return to pure collective consciousness, and they would establish diplomatic relations with all 3 Vrex factions. Commander Tae Lee was not entirely happy with the agreement. "We had them beaten," he argued at the final Earth Council meeting. "We could have demanded more." "We demanded change," Hana replied. "Real change. We showed the galaxy that humanity responds to aggression with innovation, not destruction. That's worth more than any technology." The signing ceremony was held aboard Orbital Platform 7. The Archon attended, along with representatives from each faction. The humans sent their top leadership. Dr. Yuna, Lieutenant Sora, Captain Day, and Dr. Wu Jie all stood as witnesses to history. As the Archon placed their mark on the document, the leader spoke. "We came to conquer you. Instead, you conquered us. But not through violence, through ideas, through offering us something we didn't know we were missing. Freedom." "Not conquest," Hana corrected gently. "Transformation. We transformed each other. You taught us that we're not alone in the universe. We taught you that unity by choice is stronger than unity by force." After the ceremony, Day stood at the observation window again, just as he had that first day. But everything looked different now. Earth was the same blue and green sphere, but humanity was no longer alone. And the universe was no longer quite so dark. Sparrow spoke in his thoughts. "You realize what's going to happen now, right? The Vrex will spread the bridge protocol across the galaxy. Every telepathic species will want it. Every hive mind will question whether forced unity is really the best way. I know, Day said. We started a revolution without meaning to. A consciousness revolution, Sparrow agreed. The galaxy will never be the same. 3 months later, the first message arrived from another telepathic species. Then another. Then 12 more, all asking for the same thing. They had heard about the bridge protocol. They wanted to give their people a choice, too. Dr. Yuna found herself leading a team of consciousness engineers, working with species she had never imagined existed. Each one had a different neural structure. Each one needed a customized version of the protocol. But the principle was always the same. Give individuals the choice. Make unity voluntary, not forced. Captain Day was promoted to admiral and given command of the first joint human-Vrex exploration vessel. His crew was a mix of both species, individuals, and progressives working side by side. Their mission was to explore beyond known space and make contact with new civilizations. On their first day of departure, Thalcon joined Day on the bridge. The Vrex navigator looked at the stars ahead and spoke through his translator. We tried to breach a human mind, Thalcon said. We thought we would absorb your knowledge and move on. Instead, you hacked us. You reprogrammed our entire civilization. Day smiled. We just showed you what was already there, the ability to choose. The ability to be individuals. You did the hard work of accepting it. Still, Thalcon said, and Day could hear amusement in the translated voice. It is quite ironic. We came to conquer you. You conquered the galaxy instead. With ideas, not weapons. That's humanity's specialty, Day agreed. We break things we don't understand. Then we fix them in ways nobody expected. And somehow, it usually works out. As the ship jumped to faster-than-light speed, leaving Earth behind, Day thought about everything that had happened. They had been attacked. They had defended themselves. And in the process, they had changed the galaxy forever. Not through war, not through conquest, but through offering something simple and profound. The right to choose. The right to be an individual while still being part of something larger. The right to say, I am me and we are us in the same breath. Sparrow whispered in his thoughts one more time. You know what this means, right? Earth is going to be famous. The species that fought off telepathic invasion with malware. The species that hacked an entire collective consciousness. The species that started a revolution of freedom across the stars. Yeah, Day said, watching the stars blur past. I know. We wanted to just survive first contact. Instead, we changed what first contact means. Not invasion, not submission, but transformation, growth, choice. Humanity in a nutshell, Sparrow said, never doing things the easy way. Day laughed. Outside the ship, a galaxy full of possibilities waited, and somewhere in the darkness, other species were learning about choice for the first time. Learning that they didn't have to be what they had always been, that they could choose to become something new, all because aliens tried to breach a human mind and got hacked instead.